In ancient silence, before steel knew its shape, warriors understood a truth. The spirit is forged before the blade. Fire does not ask permission to burn, and doubt does not ask permission to speak. The forbidden samurai method was never written for the weak-hearted. It was whispered through discipline, pain, and devotion. It is the path of Bushido, refined into Hagani no Ishi, a will hardened until self-doubt falls silent like ash. You are not here by accident. You are here because the fire has already chosen you. This journey demands discipline, presence, and the courage to stand unshaken when the mind trembles. If you are ready to silence the voice that questions your worth, commit now. Comment, subscribe, and step into this community of warriors forging themselves through fire and purpose. Thank you for standing among those who choose mastery over comfort, spirit over fear, action over hesitation. Now, let us walk the forbidden path together and shape the self that endures. Breathe, listen, and prepare to abandon hesitation as Shin awakens within. Disciplined silence and unwavering resolve rises. Silent discipline is the art of training without announcement, the strength built where no one is watching and no applause exists. It is the decision to rise before motivation speaks, to act before confidence arrives, and to move forward even when doubt breathes heavily in the chest. In samurai philosophy, discipline was never loud. It was invisible, woven into daily rituals, repeated movements, and quiet obedience to a higher standard. Silent discipline teaches you that power grows in restraint. When you stop explaining yourself, you conserve energy. When you stop seeking validation, you sharpen focus. Every small action done consistently becomes a strike against self-doubt. The mind learns through repetition, not inspiration. Each day you show up without complaint, you teach your spirit that hesitation has no authority. This is how doubt weakens, not through argument, but through neglect. Silence becomes a weapon, and discipline becomes a language spoken only through action. In the forge of silent discipline, excuses melt first. There is no audience to impress, no enemy to blame, no moment to delay. What remains is your relationship with discomfort. Discipline does not remove pain. It teaches you to coexist with it without flinching. The warrior understood that the mind rebels before the body breaks. Silent discipline trains you to move anyway. When thoughts whisper that you are not ready, not worthy, not strong enough, discipline answers with motion. One step, one repetition, one controlled breath. Over time, the mind learns obedience. Doubt thrives in chaos and excess thought, but discipline thrives in order. Each routine anchors you. Each commitment honored becomes proof of reliability to yourself. Self-trust is not declared, it is earned. Silent discipline is the ledger where every kept promise is recorded and every broken excuse is erased. There is a sacred loneliness within silent discipline that shapes character. Walking this path often means being misunderstood, overlooked, or underestimated. But solitude sharpens awareness. Without noise, you hear your true weaknesses. Without distraction, you confront your limits. This is where most people turn back, seeking comfort in distraction. But the disciplined remain. They understand that mastery is not dramatic, it is repetitive. The samurai did not practice the sword to feel powerful, but to become precise. Silent discipline strips ego away until only function remains. You act not to feel good, but because it must be done. Over time, emotion follows action, not the other way around. Confidence grows quietly, like roots beneath the ground. When storms arrive, those roots decide who stands. Doubt shouts, but discipline whispers, and the whisper endures. As silent discipline deepens, self-doubt loses its voice entirely, not because it disappears, but because it is no longer obeyed. You learn that thoughts are not commands, feelings are not facts, and hesitation is not truth. Discipline becomes your compass when emotions fail. The body moves, the breath steadies, and the mind follows. This alignment is power. In Japanese philosophy, this reflects shin, true intention, acting without inner conflict. Silent discipline creates harmony between will and action. You no longer wait to feel ready. Readiness is created through movement. Over months and years, this practice transforms identity. You no longer ask who you could become, you embody it daily. Doubt fades not with force, but with irrelevance. In the silence of discipline, the warrior is forged. Unbreakable focus is the discipline of placing the mind on a single edge and refusing to let it dull. In a world designed to fracture attention, focus becomes an act of rebellion and power. The samurai understood that a scattered mind invites defeat before the blade is drawn. Focus was trained through stillness, breath and intention, not through force but through clarity. When you choose one task, one direction, one purpose, you declare sovereignty over your inner world. Unbreakable focus begins when you stop multitasking your destiny and start honoring the present moment. Every distraction you resist strengthens mental muscle. Every time you return your attention to what matters, you reclaim authority from doubt. The mind learns what you repeatedly allow. Focus teaches it to obey. Over time, attention stops wandering and starts penetrating. What once felt difficult becomes natural. Doubt survives in divided awareness. It weakens when the mind stands unified behind a single aim. The forge of unbreakable focus is built on restraint. It is not about doing more, but about doing less with absolute presence. The warrior did not swing wildly. Each strike carried intent, balance, and precision. Focus demands sacrifice. The sacrifice of noise, unnecessary opinions, and constant stimulation. When you limit inputs, your outputs gain power. Focus trains you to endure boredom without escaping it. To remain steady when the mind seeks novelty. This endurance is strength. As distractions fall away, clarity rises. You begin to see problems as they are, not as fears exaggerate them. Focus compresses energy into effectiveness. Time bends in its presence. Hours of distracted effort shrink into moments of decisive action. Self-doubt loses ground here because doubt feeds on delay and overthinking. When action becomes immediate and intentional, the mind has no room to sabotage. Focus transforms hesitation into momentum. There is a quiet ferocity within unbreakable focus that reshapes identity. When your attention becomes disciplined, your emotions follow. Anxiety fades when the mind stops racing ahead. Regret loosens when the mind stops clinging to the past. Focus anchors you in now, where power exists. This mirrors the concept of mushin, the no-mind state, where effort feels lighter because conflict dissolves. You are no longer fighting yourself. Each day of focused practice compounds, carving neural pathways of commitment and resolve. You become known to yourself as someone who finishes, someone who stays, someone who does not abandon the task when discomfort appears. This self-pigeon becomes armor. External chaos no longer penetrates easily. Focus becomes your shield, guarding your energy, your time, and your purpose from erosion. As unbreakable focus matures, it becomes instinctive rather than forced. You no longer chase motivation, focus generates it. The mind stops negotiating and starts executing. You learn that clarity is a choice renewed moment by moment. When distractions arise, you acknowledge them without surrender. When doubt whispers, you do not argue, you continue. This is mastery. Focus does not eliminate fear, but it renders fear irrelevant. The body acts, the breath steadies, and attention remains locked on the path ahead. Over time, this alignment creates quiet confidence. You trust yourself because your attention is reliable. You show up fully, again and again. In this consistency, self-doubt starves. What remains is a sharpened presence, calm under pressure, decisive under strain. Unbreakable focus is not loud power. It is controlled fire, contained, deliberate, and unstoppable. Inner steel is the strength that does not bend when pressure closes in. the resilience forged long before conflict arrives. It is not aggression or bravado, it is quiet certainty rooted deep in the core. The samurai believed true strength was invisible, cultivated through patience, repetition, and suffering endured without complaint. Inner steel begins when you stop trying to prove yourself and start refining yourself. Each challenge becomes heat, each failure a hammer strike, shaping the inner blade. This strength is born in moments when quitting feels reasonable, but persistence feels sacred. You learn that pain is temporary, but weakness invited becomes permanent. Inner steel grows when you choose endurance over escape. Doubt tests the surface, but it cannot penetrate what has been tempered through lived experience. Over time, resilience stops feeling like effort and becomes identity. You no longer ask if you can withstand pressure, you expect yourself to. The forging of inner steel requires exposure to hardship rather than avoidance of it. Comfort softens the spirit, but resistance hardens it. Every disciplined choice made under fatigue, stress, or fear thickens the core. The warrior trained not for peace, but for chaos, knowing calm is unreliable. Inner steel teaches you to remain steady when emotions surge and circumstances collapse. You learn to regulate your breath, anchor your posture, and hold your ground internally. This mirrors the concept of Hagane, hardened steel, created through cycles of heating and cooling. Life applies the same process. Each time you recover instead of retreat, you temper your will. Self-doubt thrives when pressure feels unfamiliar. Inner steel removes surprise. You become accustomed to discomfort, so fear loses leverage. Strength stops being something you summon, it becomes something you embody continuously. There is a profound calm that accompanies inner steel. It is not numbness, but control. When storms arrive, the steel does not panic, it holds form. This calm emerges because you have faced yourself repeatedly and survived. The inner dialogue shifts from questioning to commanding. You no longer ask how you feel, you decide how you will act. This aligns with the samurai concept of Fudoshin, the immovable mind. Inner steel stabilizes your thoughts when uncertainty attacks. You respond instead of react. This control extends to discipline, focus, and emotional regulation. You stop wasting energy on imagined outcomes and redirect it into execution. Confidence grows quietly from repeated proof. Each trial endured becomes evidence stored in the nervous system. When new challenges appear, your body remembers strength before your mind has time to doubt. As inner steel solidifies, self-doubt becomes background noise rather than a guiding voice. It may still exist, but it no longer influences direction. Your decisions are driven by values, not fear. You understand that strength is not the absence of vulnerability, but the refusal to surrender to it. Inner steel allows you to carry responsibility without collapse and ambition without desperation. You stand upright under the weight of expectations because your foundation is reinforced. Over years of disciplined living, this strength becomes unmistakable. Others sense it in your presence, but it is not for display. It is for survival, purpose, and mastery. Inner steel is the silent assurance that whatever lies ahead, you will endure, adapt, and continue forward without breaking. Fearless presence is the ability to stand fully in the moment without shrinking, hiding, or seeking permission to exist. It is not the absence of fear, but the refusal to let fear dictate posture, breath, or decision. The samurai understood that presence alone could end conflict before steel met steel. A warrior who stands rooted, eyes steady, and spirit composed communicates certainty without words. Fearless presence begins when you stop fleeing discomfort and allow yourself to be seen as you are. When you inhabit your body completely, doubt loses ground. You are no longer scattered between past regrets and future worries. You arrive here, now, anchored. This arrival is power. The moment you stop apologizing for your existence, your presence sharpens. Confidence is not performed, it is felt. Fear dissolves when awareness is grounded and attention is embodied. The cultivation of fearless presence requires mastery of the body as much as the mind. The body reacts before thought, revealing hesitation through posture, breath, and tension. Training presence means slowing the breath, relaxing unnecessary tension, and standing tall even when uncertainty presses inward. The warrior trains stance and stillness because the body teaches the mind how to behave. When you regulate your physiology, the mind follows. Fearless presence is built in moments of exposure, speaking when the voice shakes, holding eye contact when the impulse is to look away, remaining still when the urge is to escape. Each moment survived without retreat reinforces internal authority. Over time, the nervous system learns safety within challenge. Fear stops signaling danger and starts signaling growth. Presence becomes your default state rather than a forced effort. There is an unmistakable gravity to fearless presence that reshapes interaction with the world. When you are fully present, people respond differently. Resistance softens, chaos slows, and respect emerges naturally. This mirrors the Japanese concept of zanshin, continuous awareness, where attention remains expanded yet calm. You are aware without being reactive. You listen without dissolving. You speak without over-explaining. Fearless presence allows you to occupy space without aggression or apology. This balance silences self-doubt because doubt feeds on imagined judgment. When you stop projecting into others' minds, you reclaim energy. You no longer rehearse conversations or outcomes, you respond in real time. This immediacy strips fear of its power. Confidence grows not from control, but from acceptance of uncertainty while remaining grounded. As fearless presence deepens, identity shifts. You no longer define yourself by outcomes or approval. You trust your ability to remain centered regardless of circumstances. This trust is liberation. Fear may arise, but it does not displace you. You remain steady, breathing, aware. Decisions become cleaner because they are not filtered through panic. Action flows from clarity rather than defense. Over time, this presence becomes unmistakable. You walk slower, speak clearer, and choose deliberately. Self-doubt fades because you are no longer negotiating with imagined futures. You are fully alive in the present. Fearless presence is not dominance. It is rooted calm. It is the quiet strength of someone who knows they can stand firm in any room, under any gaze, and remain themselves. Ruthless self-trust is the decision to believe your own actions more than your own doubts. It is not blind confidence or reckless optimism. It is loyalty to the evidence you have earned through discipline and endurance. The samurai trusted themselves because hesitation in battle was fatal. That trust was built long before conflict, through training repeated until movement became instinct. Ruthless self-trust begins when you stop outsourcing authority over your life to fear, opinions, or past failures. You learn to listen to your inner command rather than your inner noise. Every time you act despite uncertainty, you reinforce this trust. Doubt may speak, but it no longer decides. You move first, assess later. Over time, action becomes your truth, not thought. This is how inner alignment is formed, through commitment, not reassurance. The forging of ruthless self-trust requires severing the habit of self-betrayal. Each broken promise weakens the internal bond, while each kept promise strengthens it. The warrior did not question whether he felt ready. Readiness was created through obedience to duty. In the same way, self-trust is built by doing what you said you would do, especially when it is uncomfortable. Ruthless means you do not negotiate with excuses, you recognize them, then act anyway. This consistency teaches the nervous system that you are reliable under pressure. When challenges arise, panic diminishes because you have proven your follow-through. You stop seeking external validation because your internal record is sufficient. Confidence stops being emotional and becomes structural. It is supported by proof, not hope. There is a hard clarity within ruthless self-trust that eliminates inner conflict. When you trust yourself, decisions become cleaner and faster. You do not spiral in over-analysis because you believe in your ability to adapt. This mirrors the samurai principle of shin, true intention, where action aligns with inner values without contradiction. You accept responsibility fully, knowing that even mistakes will be handled. This acceptance dissolves fear. You are no longer afraid of failure because you trust your recovery. Doubt thrives when you fear your own response to adversity. Ruthless self-trust removes that fear. You know you will respond with discipline. This certainty creates mental stillness. You stop arguing with yourself and start moving forward with precision and resolve. As ruthless self-trust solidifies, your identity shifts from seeker to executor. You no longer wait for perfect conditions or emotional certainty. You act from principle, not mood. When fear appears, you acknowledge it without surrender. When uncertainty arises, you proceed anyway. This trust becomes unshakable because it is rooted in behavior, not belief. Over time, others may doubt you, but it will not matter. Your internal compass is calibrated. You stand by your decisions and correct them without self-attack. Self-doubt loses power because it cannot compete with lived evidence. Ruthless self-trust is the final severing of hesitation. It is the inner oath that whatever path you choose, you will walk it fully, without retreat, without apology, and without abandoning yourself. Mental stillness is the discipline of creating silence within chaos, the ability to hold the mind steady while the world moves violently around you. It is not the absence of thought, but freedom from being dragged by it. The samurai understood that a noisy mind fractures timing, perception, and judgment. A still mind sees clearly. Mental stillness begins when you stop reacting to every impulse and start observing them instead. Thoughts rise, emotions surge, but you remain anchored. This anchoring weakens self-doubt, because doubt feeds on momentum and repetition. When the mind slows, doubt loses speed. Stillness creates space between stimulus and response, and in that space, choice is born. You reclaim authority over attention. The mind becomes a tool rather than a battlefield. Calm stops being something you chase and becomes something you generate internally. The cultivation of mental stillness requires restraint rather than suppression. You do not fight thoughts, you let them pass without editing. Resistance creates tension, and tension amplifies noise. The warrior trains stillness through breath control, posture, and repetition, allowing the mind to settle naturally. When you slow the breath, the nervous system follows. When the body steadies, the mind mirrors it. Mental stillness is built in small moments. Pausing before reacting, breathing before speaking, grounding before acting. Over time, these pauses compound into control. You learn that urgency is often an illusion. Most threats exist only in imagination. Stillness exposes this. As mental chatter fades, clarity sharpens. Decisions become simpler because you are no longer overwhelmed by competing narratives. Doubt thrives in clutter, stillness clears the field. There is a quiet strength that emerges from mental stillness, a centeredness that cannot be rushed or manipulated. When your mind is still, pressure loses its ability to distort perception. This reflects the concept of mushin, the no-mind state, where action flows without inner resistance or hesitation. In this state, effort decreases while effectiveness increases. You are fully present, fully responsive, and fully composed. Emotional reactions soften because you are no longer fused with them. Fear arises, but it does not consume awareness. Anxiety appears, but it does not dictate behavior. Mental stillness allows you to feel without being controlled. This emotional regulation builds confidence. You trust yourself because you know you will not panic. Stability becomes your advantage. As mental stillness deepens, self-doubt loses its grip entirely. Doubt depends on constant mental rehearsal, on replaying past failures and predicting future threats. Stillness interrupts this cycle. You stop narrating your life and start living it. Action becomes direct, unburdened by excessive thought. You respond to reality as it is, not as fear imagines it. Over time, this stillness becomes your default. You remain calm in moments that once triggered overwhelm. This calm is not passive, it is alert, grounded, and powerful. You move with precision because your mind is clear. Mental stillness is the silent ground from which all mastery rises. In its presence, doubt has nowhere to echo, and silence becomes strength. Warrior confidence is not loud assurance or outward dominance. It is the quiet certainty that remains when no one is watching and nothing needs to be proven. It is forged through experience, not affirmation. The samurai never relied on bravado because false confidence collapses under pressure. Warrior confidence begins when you accept reality without flinching and still choose to stand firm. It is born from knowing you can face discomfort, uncertainty, and resistance without retreating from yourself. This confidence does not come from winning every battle, but from surviving them with integrity. Each time you endure hardship without abandoning discipline, confidence takes root. Self-doubt weakens when it meets consistency. The more you act in alignment with your values, the less room fear has to question your worth. Warrior confidence is earned silently, layer by layer. The development of warrior confidence demands confrontation rather than avoidance. Confidence does not grow in safety, it grows in exposure. The warrior trained under conditions that mirrored chaos, so fear would lose its novelty. In the same way, confidence forms when you repeatedly step into situations that test you and remain composed. Each challenge faced without collapse becomes proof stored in the body and mind. This proof matters more than positive thinking. Confidence grounded in reality cannot be shaken by criticism or failure. When mistakes occur, warrior confidence does not fracture, it adapts. You learn that failure is not a verdict but feedback. This understanding removes the fear of trying. When fear loses authority, action becomes freer. Over time, you stop asking whether you are capable and start asking what must be done. There is a steady calm within warrior confidence that influences every interaction. When you trust your ability to respond, you stop overreacting. When you trust your resilience, you stop over-defending. This reflects the samurai ideal of Fudoshin, the immovable mind, where emotional stability remains intact, regardless of external pressure. Warrior confidence allows you to remain respectful without submission, and assertive without aggression. You no longer need to dominate conversations or retreat from them. Your presence communicates assurance through tone, posture, and restraint. Self-doubt often disguises itself as overcompensation or withdrawal. Confidence eliminates both. You become balanced. You listen without insecurity and speak without fear. This balance creates authority that cannot be faked. Others feel it, but more importantly, you live it internally. As warrior confidence matures, it becomes independent of outcomes. You no longer define yourself by success or failure, approval or rejection. Your confidence is rooted in effort, discipline, and response. You trust that whatever happens, you will handle it with clarity and resolve. This trust dissolves anxiety about the future and regret about the past. You are grounded in the present, where confidence functions best. When challenges arise, you do not panic, you prepare. When pressure mounts, you do not fold, you focus. Warrior confidence is not the belief that nothing will go wrong, but the certainty that you will not break when it does. In this certainty, self-doubt fades into irrelevance. What remains is calm strength, deliberate action, and the quiet power of someone who knows they can endure. Forged willpower is the strength to act when desire fades and resistance rises. It is not motivation which comes and goes, but commitment hardened through repetition. The samurai did not rely on feeling ready, they relied on duty. Willpower was forged long before the moment of decision, shaped through routines followed without negotiation. Forged willpower begins when you stop asking whether you feel like acting and start acting because it must be done. Each disciplined choice strengthens the inner structure that holds you steady under pressure. Doubt loses leverage when behavior becomes automatic. When action is habitual, hesitation has no foothold. Willpower becomes less about force and more about identity. You do not push yourself forward, you move because that is who you are. The forging of willpower requires exposure to resistance rather than avoidance of it. Comfort weakens resolve, while friction strengthens it. Every time you choose effort over ease, you temper the inner steel. The warrior trained under fatigue so that exhaustion would not become an excuse. In the same way, forged willpower is built by acting when energy is low, when conditions are imperfect, and when progress feels slow. This is where most people stop. Those who continue separate themselves. Willpower grows when the mind learns that discomfort does not equal danger. Each completed task under strain becomes proof that you can continue. Over time, resistance stops feeling like a barrier and starts feeling like a signal to engage. Doubt fades because the pattern is established. You act regardless. There is a quiet authority that accompanies forged willpower. When you know you will act no matter what, internal debate ends. This clarity mirrors the samurai principle of Shudyo, relentless training aimed at mastery through hardship. Willpower simplifies life. Decisions become fewer because standards are fixed. You no longer negotiate daily with temptation, distraction, or fear. The path is chosen and you walk it. This eliminates mental exhaustion. Energy once wasted on indecision is redirected into execution. Confidence grows as a byproduct of reliability. You trust yourself because you are predictable in the best way. When pressure increases, you do not crumble. You intensify focus. Willpower stabilizes emotions and anchors behavior. As forged willpower deepens, it transforms how you relate to adversity. Obstacles are no longer personal or discouraging. They are expected. You stop interpreting resistance as a sign to quit and start interpreting it as confirmation that growth is happening. This shift changes everything. Willpower becomes self-renewing because each challenge faced strengthens it further. Self-doubt struggles to survive here because there is no pause long enough for it to take hold. Action continues. Over time, this consistency reshapes identity. You become someone who finishes, someone who endures, someone who does not wait for ease. Forged willpower is not dramatic strength. It is relentless progress. It is the quiet force that carries you forward long after excitement fades, until discipline becomes destiny. As we conclude this journey through the forbidden samurai method that silences self-doubt, remember this. True mastery is not born from fleeting motivation or external validation, but from the relentless forging of your spirit through silent discipline, unbreakable focus, inner steel, fearless presence, ruthless self-trust, mental stillness, warrior confidence, and forged willpower. Each pillar is a testament to the warrior within you, a warrior who chooses to stand firm when others falter, who acts despite fear, and who shapes identity through consistent action rather than empty words. Self-doubt will come, as it always does, but it will meet an unyielding spirit, sharpened by daily commitment and unshaken by circumstance. This method is not a quick fix. It is a lifelong path, a silent fire burning deep beneath the surface, preparing you for any battle life brings. Thank you for standing among those who refuse to be defined by hesitation or uncertainty, for joining this community of warriors dedicated to mastering themselves. Now, take what you have learned and embody it fully. Forge your path with courage, resolve, and unwavering purpose. The blade is yours. Let it cut through doubt and carve the life you were destined to live.